I know it's a busy day when you show up right on time because you're a very
Well,
punctual person.
I haven't had a minute. Well, I did have lunch with Mark, but that was nice. But yeah, it's been nonstop today.
Yeah, I know the feeling. All right, let's get this rolling. Good afternoon and good evening, everyone. Welcome back to another edition of Kicking Ass in Real Estate
Oh,
with
is
my
that the new
co-host,
name for this? Kicking ass in
Gary
real estate?
Shevitz.
Okay, I love it.
The herd stampede, Kicking Ass in Real Estate. And I am your friendly investor, Patrick Curley. Welcome back, guys.
The friendliest of the friendlies.
The friendliest of the friendly. Um, I actually had a really not so friendly conversation with a buyer agent yesterday. And I basically had to tell her, I don't think this is working, which I haven't done in the past before. But essentially, she just didn't have an investor mindset. And I know you know what I'm talking about, Gary.
Who, me?
Yeah. Yeah, when they start to talk about the neighborhood and how much money you're going to get for the property and they don't hear what price you actually need out of the deal, right? Which was kind of interesting. So what I asked her, and this is basically how the conversation went. She said, "Oh, well, it's going to sell for $2 million easily." And I said, "Great. How much money is it going to take to get it there?" And she said, "I have no idea." And I said, "Exactly. This is exactly my point." Anyways, I ended up having to go directly to the listing agent to have that conversation with her because she was just not capable of going to bat for us. And so the moral of the story, you guys, of those of you who are listening and working with agents, really, I would say 9 times out of 10, we're working with listing agents. You want to make sure that that's the case because it's just easier to communicate directly with them. If it's somebody in their brokerage, that's almost as good, but not as good. You have to gauge whether or not they're willing to have those conversations and can have those conversations with you. So anyways, I thought I would start this off with a
You want
brief.
my agent of the day story?
I do. Let me hear it.
My agent of the day, the winner of the day. So listing agent, a it's a subject to deal. Seller is paying for everything. First of all, they're paying 12,000 towards the commission. They're paying over asking, paying all closing costs, and even the transfer taxes, all of them, all of the buyer's costs. And the agent asked me for a net sheet.
Right.
A net sheet. Well, number one, the form in the car forms library is for the seller's agent to fill out.
Yeah.
It's all about the seller's agent. So there's two columns, one for all the nitty gritty little expenses and one for the high level stuff. And there's no nitty gritty, having a conversation. So I sent it to her and she said, what is the title fee? And I'm like, why do you care? The
Right.
buyer's paying it. What do you care? Well, what is this fee? And I'm like, the buyer's paying for that. And I'm
Yeah.
like, have you read this contract?
Yeah.
Have you read the contract? And then I go to her, are you charging her more? Are you charging the seller additional money? And that stumped her. I said, well, the buyer's paying you $12,000. What are you charging them anymore? Because I'm not a mind reader. I don't know. And she laughed at that, like, I'm an idiot kind of laugh. So
Yeah.
that's my stupid agent story for the day.
Yeah. And so guys, just so you know, like agents are people, like in any industry, there is a handful of exceptional practitioners in that industry. And then there's the majority of mediocrity.
And
And really that's
some people are dumbasses, and that means some agents are dumbasses.
God, I put it so eloquently, and you just came in here with a truth bomb. I mean, and that's really why I linked up with
Yeah,
you
well,
because,
I felt you were being a little too nice.
well, I try to be nice until you have to be not nice, right? And, that's why I linked up with you because, immediately upon having a conversation with you, I was like, wow, I learned something in our first conversation. And having meetings with you every day for the first year of real estate really accelerated my trajectory. So that being said, guys, who in the chat, who's new? If you're new, type new. If you're just coming back to these meetings, maybe it's your second or multiple meetings, say fam, type fam. What's up, Jason Lee? Jason Lee's back.
Definitely fam.
Rahab is back. What's up, fam?
I'm looking for otters. Sorry.
Yep, there's a few. I noticed a few in there.
I'm playing whack an otter.
Little otters. I asked them to type new or fam, and then they type otter. All right, so if you're new, guys, I'll tell you what, I'll be honest, you've missed a lot, and that's okay. You got some catching up to do. What I'm going to do is post some videos in the chat. There are 3, in my opinion, valuable videos Gary and I recorded for you guys: how to get started with wholesale, how to get started to create finance, how to build a real estate business. These are all very valuable tools for you guys. As well as that, there are scripts in here for you, and there is a submission form. So if you have a creative deal or a cash deal and you think it's of interest, go ahead and send it to us in that form, and we'll help you out. We specialize in California. Gary is a transactional master in California, and I do all of my cash deals in California. However, we will be able to help you out in other states as well. So please don't hesitate to reach out, guys. Okay, so should we talk about what we're going to do today?
What was that again? I forget.
What we were going to do today?
Yeah, I forgot.
You guys should see behind the scenes what the topic creation looks like in these meetings. Hey, Gary, I'm thinking about doing this. What do you think? Yeah, that's fine. That's basically how it goes. So today, guys,
I'm serious. I have so many transactions in the air right now. It's like I can't keep them all sorted.
All Gary has to do is bring his big brain in these meetings. That's his contribution. So today, guys, we're going to be talking about creative finance, specifically subject to, which is one of my favorite strategies. Right now in the States, I think it's somewhere above 60% of the open loans. Maybe it's lower due to our movement. 60% of the open loans now are anywhere from 2 to 4%. And so, as you may or may not know, the interest rates have just gone up. So the national average right now is at 8%. What does that mean? That means that if you want to buy a house, you might as well just lay down on a knife. It's rough, right? So if you are trying to acquire a property for yourself and or a rental property, this is a huge opportunity, because what's happening with the inventory now that is not necessarily retail ready is just sitting on the market, and agents and sellers, they're starting to feel that pressure. So we're going to talk about that today.
Gridlock marketplace. You've got a gridlock problem in the market when new homes are outselling existing homes.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Okay, so let me see.
That's like an inverted yield curve.
That's why you're here, Gary, to use these big phrases. Guys, don't be scared of his big phrases. We're gonna simplify it for you. All right, so if you missed our creative meeting, I'm gonna go over this real quick, because if you don't know what we're talking about in terms of equity, you might glaze over and we might lose you. So what is equity? Well, in simple terms, if somebody sells their house, what are they going to pocket? All right, what are they going to walk away with? That's equity. So this is an example here of a home that's worth $300,000. There's an 80% loan to value, which means that they owe 240, and they've got 60K in equity. So if we take these numbers, and guys, if you're not good at math, don't worry. I'm not super strong in math either, but this is pretty simple. So if we have an asking price of 300K, I generally take about a 10% transaction cost away from that. Is that accurate? Not always, right? It depends, but it's just the national average that I'm taking here, guys. So don't flip out. Don't message me on YouTube, because I get these messages from people, but you're 1% off, right? It works, guys. I'm closing deals, so just follow along. So if we have an asking price of 300K, 30K, we're taking that away from that transactional cost. gross proceeds, as I've named it, is 270. And let's say, for example, they have this open loan at 240. We're subtracting that open loan from the gross proceeds. We're left with the net equity at ask, which is what I refer to it. So when I'm calling, let's say I'm calling on a property, and this is the example that we're using, right? And I'm in the conversation with an agent. I'm going to say, well, it looks like your seller has about 30K in equity at their current asking price. Because what I'm going to do in the beginning of the conversation is I'm going to mention that I'm more than willing to give them their asking price, which, by the way, they're not used to hearing that. So when you say that, you are going to get their attention, and they're going to say, oh my God, my prayers have been answered. The unicorn has arrived. I've been waiting for this unicorn buyer. Okay. And so that's it. What we're willing to pay them is that 30K equity at ask plus closing costs and commissions. Generally speaking, guys, this is in general, and this depends on the investor. The entry fee, how much you're paying equity, agent fees, closing costs, renovation, all that stuff. Generally speaking, we want it to be about 10% of the retail value of the home, so about 30K. So in this example, all I'm giving you is equity at ask. And if I were to give that seller 30K plus closing and agent fees, we're going over that 10%. But some investors, me included, might be willing to go over that 10%. If it's a nice house, if it's in an area that I like, I might actually go over that 10%. In fact, on the last
If it cash flows real strongly, you might.
Yes, thank you. Thank you for adding that in. If it cash flows real strongly. And that's really one of the things that I'm looking at, guys, is cash flow. Number one, is it breaking even or producing cash in the first year? That's really my first criteria. And then I'm looking at the entry fee, the interest rate, and all that comes later, to be honest. It might catch my attention, but what I'm looking at
Whoa, wait a second. Didn't you just reject one because it was 5.5?
I did. Yeah.
Right, like that, you said no.
Well, so yeah,
Like the snap of your fingers, you said no.
I pushed it away in disgust.
Yeah.
Let me
Ew.
let me clarify what I mean by that, guys, so I'm not confusing anybody. So like today, for example, I actually saw somebody post and I replied to it, which I don't always do, but I without even looking at the deal, I know it's not going to cash flow just looking at an interest rate, right? So, I think the national average purchase price is like 410, right? So if you have an interest rate over 5% at a purchase price of 410, given the average taxes in the country, you're not going to cash flow. Without even pulling out a spreadsheet, guys, I can almost tell you that with certainty, okay? So that is an indicator. If somebody sends me a deal, if I'm looking at it real quickly, I'm going to look at that. Now, if they tell me that it's cash flow, then I'm going to cross-reference that information with the interest rate to confirm that they're not out of their mind. But yeah, it is important to me, guys. Okay, I'm going to pause real fast because I talk fast, think fast, move fast sometimes. Do you guys have any questions about what we just covered? Is transactional cost the same as closing costs? Tariq, I'm lumping all of that into one phrase. So closing costs, agent fee. So yes, it's all what we're going to be paying to close the deal. Any other
Transaction
questions?
cost is more holistic.
And you also refer to that as entry fee as another word, is that correct?
Well, in this specific case, it depends on the investor, but an experienced investor is going to also factor in capital expenditures, for example. Like, so let's say for this example that we're talking about here, like a national average for rents of this purchase price really depends, but I would say like $2,400. So you would want to take anywhere from 15 to 20% of that number and attribute that to capital expenditures. So repairs, vacancy, maintenance, so on and so forth. That's another number that would go into the underwriting process. And that's, by the way, in my opinion, the last of the phase. But that's another cost that you would want to put in here. So for transaction costs, I'm just looking at what's going into escrow, the agent fee, so on and so forth. But you also want to take a look at reno and capex and stuff like that. That's a good question. Any other questions, guys?
Yeah, Mike has got his hand, say his name, Patrick.
Here we go.
Matthias. I'm always scared to say it.
Yeah,
Now.
you did it right. He's
Don't be.
by
don't be
George, I
afraid.
think he's got it, Mike.
I say it in the mirror at
Just look at
night.
your eyes.
Matthias. What's up, bro? Are you coming up here to talk to us? What's
He's
up?
here.
I had a question. No, I've thought about this this question before. I'm not quite sure how to phrase it correctly, but I want to make sure I'm understanding. So, when you're going to a seller with an offer in this case, you're not deducting the amount based off the transaction costs, right? You're planning on paying the full asking price. What's the point in telling them that you're coming down on the price and paying the transaction costs? Like, what's the point in separating those two and the distinction that you're stating to them? Does that make sense?
It does, and I'm going to add to it, but let me answer the question how I think it's being asked. So it's important because generally the seller is going to be paying that costs. It depends on the area, but generally the seller will be paying those costs. So what I like to do is just give them, like, if you were to sell on market, this is what you would net. And right now it's listed on, let's just take on market, for example. Okay. Right now this is on market and you're asking this number. I'm willing to give it to you. However, because nobody else on the market's willing to give you this number. So I'm gonna trade you. I will trade you what you want for what I need. And I need terms. I need cash flow. And that would require me to assume your loan. Is that something that you're open to? Right. So now if it was direct to seller, the conversation would be different. Generally, what I would be targeting is expired listings. And I would start the conversation off with, hey, John, I noticed that you had 123 Main Street listed on the market a couple months back for 350. Well, I'm actually buying in the area and I think your asking price is reasonable. Are you still open to selling it? And they would say yes. And I would be like, great. So if you were to sell it on the market at 350, this is what you would net. And I make them say yes to, if you were to put this on the market right now, John, and get 350, would you be happy? Yes or no? And then they go, yeah, I'd be happy with 350, and be like, great. So if you sold this on the market at 350, this is what you would actually net. I will give you that in cash, which nobody else in the market said they would, but I need terms.
Right.
Yeah.
I think my confusion in hearing this broken down in the past was that I thought that our offer was going to come in at 10% less than the ask, and ultimately because of those transaction costs. But we're saying that we're going to give it at ask, but then you break it down and say, this is what's getting dedicated to transaction costs. We'll pay for that. Here's what you net out. And you're just making a case to get down to the point where you need to cash flow and assume a loan.
This is why Mike and I are kindred spirits. You see him thinking right now, his wheels are turning. So yeah, it depends. The answer is it depends, right? And so analytical people like you and I, we want like this formula, right? Like this is the template that applies to everything, but no transaction is going to be the same. No negotiation is going to be the same. So what happens if they've got negative equity? I've offered people $10,000, $20,000 when they have zero equity. Why would I do that? Well, it's in a market that I know that's going to appreciate and it's retail ready. So I want them to say yes, right? So it all just really depends. There's a lot of levers to the negotiation, but generally speaking, we start at an agreed point. If it's on market, they've already shown their hand. They want this, they need this. If it's an expired listing, then they've showed their hand previously, and I need to get them to re-agree to that number. And then we'll work on equity. Now, let's say the equity is over 10%. Am I going to give them over 10%? I'm waiting for you to answer that.
If the equity is a 10, you
No,
broke
because
it.
you're
If the equity is
stingy. You just don't put out there.
If the equity is over 10%, am I
You're
going
gonna
to
like say, nah, it's not gonna work for me.
The answer is what? It
I'd imagine
depends.
no.
It depends.
It depends. But probably
No.
Patrick is gonna snub it, just like he did with that deal at 5.5. As soon as he heard 5.5%, no, don't want it. Meanwhile, the guy who's taking it is, I'll take these all day long. And he's got a property management company and he thinks it'll cash flow. Well, you know, it depends. It not only depends on how one buyer's thinking, it depends on how other buyers in the market look at it too.
Yeah, like let's say there's a sub two and it's in Sacramento next to one of my rentals. I'm gonna have a way more biased opinion of that rental because I've already got a property management company out there working on that rental, right? So I might be willing to pay more just based on that. Or if it's in my neighborhood, I'm more comfortable being in the area physically. So I'm gonna have a biased opinion of that purchase. I'm still gonna objectively look at it and make sure it hits all my criteria, but I might be willing to go up just because of that
Right.
factor. So the answer is it depends.
Yeah. If you want it, yeah.
But I mean, to
Okay.
give you guys, so most of you guys are here wholesaling, and that's what I would recommend where you start because that's how you generate cash and build equity, excuse me, build capital and build a business. And so to give you something helpful, remember that most investors are looking at that 10% entry fee. Why? Well, it relates to their cash on cash return. When you're flipping a house, you're asking yourself, how much can I make in anywhere from 2 to 6 months? When you are holding one, you're asking yourself, when can I get my money back? How fast am I going to get my money back? How fast is this going to be cash flowing?
So it depends on who your buyer is, right? If you're doing an assignment, most wholesale deals are assigned to flippers. So they're looking for a big add value in there. Most creative deals, which are where the property's in good condition, those are getting us and they're getting assigned to buy and hold buyers who look at things a little differently. Of course, Patrick has a split personality because he can't decide whether he's the flippers wholesaler or the buy and hold assignment guy. But so sometimes, there's a little tug of war inside his head.
Yeah, I'm also impulsive and emotional. I get emotionally attached to things, and like I have to remind myself not to do that.
I thought you were over that.
No, I mean it's a daily practice. Like, ooh, that's a beautiful house. I really want that.
Oh, that's when you're thinking about where you're going to live.
Well, or a midterm rental that makes no sense, but I could frequent if I wanted to. You know what I mean?
I
So
can
yeah,
make a midterm rental. Oh no, it'll be a wrap. Oh good, it'll be a Morby method. No, it won't.
you're trying to make it work because you just want to stay at the place occasionally.
I just want to stay there one night. I want to call it mine for a week.
Right.
Right.
Mike, does that answer your question, bro?
Yeah, totally. I think I was
Kind of.
mistakenly I was mistakenly thinking that we were negotiating a 10% discount off of the asking price because of the transaction fees, which to me didn't make sense because you'd still have to pay transaction fees on the discounted price. So I was like, what that doesn't really make sense. But now that it's kind of being broken down, that makes sense a little
Well,
bit
you
more.
are looking for that discount on the ARV price when you're doing wholesaling to flippers. So, you can start getting these scenarios confused in your head. So maybe you're not crazy after all, Mike. You just mix up the, so,
Yeah, that's
right?
true. That's true.
So it depends on the scenario. It depends on the buyer scenario, the exit strategy for that property.
It
And
just seems like
that's
whatever.
the risky
Sorry.
thing about getting into a beginner's session like this and talking about wholesaling one week and talking about buy and hold and creative the next week, and people start mixing up all that stuff. It gets to be, property soup in your head. And so that's why, sometimes we're pushing pace, just stick to the basics with the elephant guys because they, let them learn one thing first.
You mean they're not ready to
Straight.
buy businesses, Gary? Are you sure? Mike, thank you
One
for hanging
day.
out with us. Guys, give Mike some love in the chat. He is working behind the scenes on getting our onboarding program up for you guys so that you guys can join our team and close more deals. He's putting in a lot of work, guys. Give him some love in the chat, guys.
Thank you.
All right, Mike, any other questions that we want to share with the group?
No, feel free to pass the baton.
Cool, man. Thanks for hanging out with us, bro.
Consider the baton passed. Kalima, how are you?
I'm well. How you guys doing?
Good.
I guess my question was similar to Mike's. It sounds like you're willing to pay what the seller wants, depending on what your end goal is. Like if you're a wholesaler, you want to buy it at a deep discount so you can add your profit in there. I guess it depends on. I guess I'm just kind of confused on what's being said or whatnot. I think I'm just kind of lost and everything's
Okay,
kind of
yeah.
jumbled.
So let me give you a visual on this, what we're specifically talking about now.
Okay.
So what this is a buy and hold situation, right? So now you can wholesale that you could get this under contract. Let's say that I pay this seller $30,000 and I take over their loan subject to. Okay, that means that I'm assuming it, they're staying on the mortgage, I'm paying it out on their behalf. I take title in my name. Now I could take that contract and I could wholesale it for a fee, or I could hold on to it. Okay, so those are my options with this specific example. Now the other type of wholesale would be a cash deal, which I think you might be referring to as well. And so that's a little bit it's a different approach. You want to be able to underwrite it. And we actually just on our last Zoom, actually, we went over exactly how to calculate MAO. Guys, in the chat, can somebody post that video for her? How to calculate MAO? But essentially, that would be the difference. So now, to give you something useful, when I'm looking at opportunities that come my way, first thing I look at is condition. So if it looks dated and like maybe a little distressed, I'm immediately thinking, okay, if we got to put more than like $20,000, $30,000 into the house to get it retail ready or rent ready, then it's a fixer. And it's cash. It's a cash deal. Okay, so I'm thinking, is this cash or is this possibly a creative deal? Now, if maybe it's dated, but it's rent ready and they've got low equity or it's vacant, those are usually my filters. Is it vacant or low equity? Great. Are they open to creative finance? And then I'm thinking about, am I going to hold it or wholesale it? Does that help?
Yes, that helps some. I think I just need to stop overthinking it or whatnot, because I think when I start hearing different numbers, I get lost in the sauce when I start hearing various numbers to scenarios that you guys are saying. But that helped out a lot. I appreciate it.
Yeah, and so Mario Perez, thank you, in the chat. He just posted how to calculate the MAO. Watch that video because I break it down.
It was last week's Zoom, right?
Yeah, last week, yeah.
Or Monday's Zoom.
Yeah.
Monday,
And
yeah, that's the right. I posted the link. By the way, guys, if you go into the events, the Heard Up events, and go up in the top, it says past events. Click on past, and all of them are there. The YouTube links are right there for each week. The only thing that's not there is what the topics were. But think of all the fun you'll have discovering that.
Right. Sounds like so much fun. Did you have any more questions for us?
No, not right now. I'm actually okay.
Okay, cool. Hey, I'm buying in Atlanta or Georgia. It looks like you're in Georgia.
I am. I'm actually in the city of McDonough, about 40 minutes from south of Atlanta.
Okay, cool. Yeah.
Atlanta's, of course, the hurricane's is just hitting the coastal areas today, right? Today, tomorrow.
Yeah, we've been getting a lot of bad weather here the last couple of days. Didn't have lights for the last 3 or 4
outer
hours.
bands, yeah. All right. I would think the whole state's going to be affected by that rain.
Exactly.
Well, Kalima, stay dry, and thank you for your participation.
I appreciate it. I will.
Okay, who's up next? Mario
Perez.
Hi. So my question was, I know that you're saying that at about 5% here in California, the numbers start breaking down for a sub two, at least for you. What about price point if you're in California?
That's a good question. Generally, in California specifically, it's like I look at 800 and below. Just because that tax reassessment's really going to hurt you.
What was that?
the tax reassessment. So it's going to factor into your PITI. As soon as you close on a property, your PITI is going to go up.
Okay.
You gotta know what the rent potential is. So this guy who took the deal that Patrick snubbed is a property management company, and he knows how to get the rents where he needs them to be. Otherwise, there's no way he would have bought that property. So having some command of the market, and even Patrick said, you know, he has some rentals in Sacramento, and if he found another one in the close proximity, you know, there's an economy of scale you start getting when you do that. So, you know, that makes him think a little, oh, well, I'd pay a little more for that. So, but the key is with buy and hold is to know your rental market. So just like in as a flipper, to be a good flipper, you've got to know what you can squeeze out of a property. And some people are better at this than others because they have some market advantage, like the guy who's the property manager, or they have a gift for transforming space, and they can see potential in properties that other people can't see. Or if I just do this, or if I you know did X, Y, and V to this property, I'm going to be able to push that price above what anybody else has been able to get for the same property or a like property. Now that's one of my superpowers. You know, and boy, I pissed some people off. And when I was in my 20s, I bought a multi-unit that was 6 residential units, and I realized I knew the zoning totally well. I mean, because I had been on the zoning board and the planning commission, and I knew the local code better than anybody. And I knew that if I dormered out the building, moved my 6 residential units up to the top 3 floors, that I could put commercial down below. I knew that didn't increase my parking space burden, and nobody else figured that out. And there was another real estate developer that went nuts on me. It swore the town was letting me get away with murder. And I finally had to sit her down, and I sat down and I had a conversation with her. Pat, stop it. Just relax. You're only mad at yourself because you're the only other person in this town who could have figured it out, and you didn't. And you know what? That confronting her with that, she like calmed down. She did. It calmed her down. She's like, you know, you're right. So stop it. You know, I'm to the letter of the law here. But the difference is if a person can see that potential in a piece of real estate and another person can't, who's going to win? Does that make sense, Patrick? Am I on too much of a tangent here?
No, I love tangents.
It's a good
I
story,
feed on
right?
it.
It's a good story. I swear.
Guys, please don't send me direct messages. Just message it in the chat so everybody can see your question. And
Or
then
put your hand up.
yeah. And the reason that is, guys, is that number one, I'm gonna miss it. Number two, it sets my respond to your name. And if I want to put something in the chat, I've got to like click on something. And I'm not that good at multitasking. Mario, do you have any other
Plus, I'm
questions?
the guy who monitors the chat for the most part, so I'll make sure your question gets answered.
Got it. No, I don't have any more questions, but Gary, that makes sense because today I got in contact with the buy and hold purchaser here in LA also, and he's purchasing at 85%. And he's picking up properties because he's able to do the construction, and he's also building ADUs in those properties, so he's able to pick up more properties than anybody else. So that little tangent, I guess it makes sense because of the situation that I went through today.
So
He's
he's
picking up
bringing
at
certain
85%.
resources to the table
How is he
that
refinancing?
are giving him an advantage, right? Sorry, Patrick.
No. I'm just curious. How is he financing this?
I'm not sure. I know he's doing property, his max the price he wants to pay the most once he picks it up or purchases it is at like 750. So he's not going over like 900 or a million at all. But I don't know if he's got private money or if he's getting loans on it. But he's been doing this for a while.
Well, that's what I'm simply saying. He's bringing resources to the table that give him an advantage.
Right.
He's
Yeah,
bringing he's obviously bringing he's got money behind him, and he's got the know-how to do the construction, like Mario said.
Mario, send me his contact information, will you?
Man.
I'm
Make
serious.
it pay you for it, Mario.
Well, I
just-
want to know, I mean, because I don't know, there's no way he's refinancing with value adds right now with the current interest rates. I don't see how we would be doing that.
Yeah, he's probably got private money, you know.
Yeah, but even at,
He's plugged
mean,
in.
Well, that's what I was thinking too, because obviously you can get private money to pick up the property, but once you refinance it, that's a whole different story, right?
well, he's not going to be able to cash flow it.
Well, he
Even-
says even if he breaks even, because he wants to cash flow, or even if he breaks even, he wants to pick up the property.
Hey, we know investors who buy and don't even break even because they want the tax deduction.
Yeah, I was just going to say he's making his money somewhere else.
Yeah.
Well, whatever, wherever he's making it, maybe he owns the ADU company.
Right.
So, so he's he's getting a chunk of change on those projects. He's placing them with private investors. They're happy to get the tax deductions. They're not playing for the big revenue play right now, but in 10, 15 years, those things are going to be cash flowing like crazy.
I think that's his play, because I mean, that's his thing. He builds ADUs.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah.
Right. All right. So, you know, there's an angle. He's got resources. He's got an angle. He's got a vision.
Yeah. Shoot me
And
his
that
contact
vision
info. I
is,
wanna talk to
yeah,
him.
Patrick needs more buyers.
Yeah,
Well,
I got your,
I want to use his strategy as well.
yeah, I have your, I just got your email earlier.
Yeah.
Okay.
Did you walk that property?
No, so I'm guessing he's getting a lot of calls, so he stopped responding. But I sent them an offer, and I tried calling them again today and emailed them as well. So I'll call them again tomorrow.
Yeah, you're gonna get that. And usually what I say to press them is like, look, we're buying 3 properties, or actually, sorry, we're buying 2 properties. We're looking at 3. This is one of them. We're trying to
Gotcha.
close in a couple of weeks. Should I move on? Where are we at with this?
Yeah,
Just kind of press them a little bit.
I'll send him that message right now, actually.
All right, Mario, thank you so much. We
Thank
got
you.
a bunch of hands up today. So let's move on.
I think it's gonna be-
Brianna, you're next. You're up next.
Funnel here.
Hi there, hi there. I actually reached out to Patrick on Circles, so not sure if he's taking personal questions in regards to like maybe a deal coming up soon. I don't know if Patrick remembers.
What color underwear are you wearing today, Patrick? There, we got a personal question.
I have no idea.
No.
Blue.
I see what you mean. So
Oh, you hit me up on the 28th. I responded today.
yes, you did. I'm living in the house that I would love to subject to. My father-in-law, he's renting it to us. Me and my partner, we're both realtors. We're not in the capacity to be able to finance a home, especially with interest rates right now. And so learning all of this has been very helpful, even for my own business in real estate, explaining like different, options in selling a home. But when it comes to this scenario in particular, like, I'm not sure how I can maybe get some help with if he, at the end of the day, if he says yes, okay, let's do it, great. But the disposition, I mean, to myself, to ourselves, like that's what I'm.
Well, if you really want to motivate him, stop paying rent. I'm just kidding.
Become a deadbeat daughter-in-law, right?
We don't want to do that. Our thing is like if we can just get it off his hands, like the kitchen could use a little bit of remodeling. We don't care like taking time and fixing it up, and the bathrooms as well. I mean,
Yeah, you're trying to build equity. You're trying to plan for the future,
Right.
which you should respect. So, I mean, if you were to look at this objectively, do you think that you're in a financial position to take on the note?
yes,
Okay.
we can handle the payment, the note, and we have some money set aside too if we need to put a down payment.
When did your father-in-law purchase the property?
He purchased it. I actually just did the CMA for him. He purchased it in sale date. It is October the 1st, 2003. Okay,
Okay,
so
so he's got
I
considerable equity.
was already doing like numbers in my head. I'm pretty sure this is gonna be a hybrid.
It has, yeah.
Be a hybrid, and I'm not sure what he has still left to owe. I'm thinking maybe about 200,000, but again, it's all in conversation right now. He's open to chat about potentially purchasing it from him. He's having me do a CMA. His number right now in his head is 480. He doesn't know we're gonna propose, creative finance.
What's the ARV of the house?
The ARV. CMA, where you at? Had it up here. Fully renovated?
Yes.
About 500,000.
Okay, so he's asking too much.
Yeah.
Okay, so then you use that as leverage to get terms.
Tell him to stop being a greedy father-in-law.
Well, lean into it,
Yeah.
right? And
Yeah.
so just go, okay, so you're saying you want 480. And if we take a look at these comparables, which if I were to go get conventional financing, we would have to respect the appraisal rules. And so given the appraisal rules and what is sold in this area, the actual retail value is 480. So the as is value of your home is very different from that.
Yeah.
But father-in-law that I love so much, I'm willing to give you close to your ask, but I need something in return. I'm requesting terms. And you get to upgrade from a landlord to a lender. I will take over your note and I will pay you the residual amount in payments monthly, and we'll balloon at this time. I wouldn't even use the word balloon.
Just like last ditch effort if he's maybe.
Yeah, I mean, he might want to. It's just not. You don't know the future. You can't tell where interest rates are going to be.
Something that you can write an agreement like, we'll refi out when interest rates go below 4.
Yeah, that's actually really smart and fair.
Bang, done. All right.
Yeah.
We'll refi out of here. In fact, if it's 10 years and the interest rate don't drop by the end of 10 years, we'll sell.
Okay.
Yeah, what he said was really important, guys. If you didn't write that down, you're missing a huge gem.
Right.
Because your ability.
I do creative terms like that for people all the time.
It's when you're, especially if it's a primary residence or if it's your first rental and you're not liquid for huge amounts, it's really important that you guys set yourself up to be securitized in these transactions and be able to leverage the asset in order to pay off what's owed.
Okay.
So that's how I would handle it. You have to remember, you've got to create a contextual playing field for both of you to stand on. And that comes with value first. So you have to figure out, what's this thing worth? You got to get him to agree that he's over asking. And then you tell him, well, look, I'll meet you halfway, but I need terms.
Right. No, that'll really allow me to at least have a starting point, and then everything after that, that's where I think I'll need some support a little bit.
Well, you got our support.
That's what we're here for.
Hard, girl.
Okay.
That's what we just did, right?
Yep. Yeah.
Right?
You did.
Inch it along, get that conversation going. Yeah.
Brianna, the hard part is making contact with the seller.
Right. It's true. It's true. You got a direct line. So
Thank you.
you got to, I don't know what works for him, booze or food,
Booze, he likes
okay, so get him liquored up and then go at him,
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much. I'll keep you guys updated on where I'm at with that.
Can't wait to hear the update. Thanks for hanging out.
Thank you.
And Patrick, tell me, how is it that we got 45 minutes into a meeting without talking to Cindy? How
I
is
don't
that
know.
even possible?
I think she's losing her edge, you know?
I know, I'm very shocked. I'm sorry. I'm very I've been cold. I'm tired today. Hey, I got a question for you. Did you find out anything about that lead I gave you? Was that a good lead, bad lead?
The 5 portfolio sell.
I think so. It was 5. I don't know. She's not going to tell me anything.
They
So,
asked for my, they're vetting me. They asked for my entity information. I gave it to them.
okay, good.
I'm just waiting for it. They want me to sign an NDA.
Yeah, that's why I'm saying that's why I couldn't get you certain stuff. She's very secretive. Okay, so you'll keep me updated, right?
Yeah, of course. I
Okay.
was gonna call her today, but we're doing Q&A, so I might just call her on another meeting, or I might just call her myself.
Okay, the other question was, I've watched all your videos on YouTube, but I need to get better at financial terms. Which one of Pace's, what should I be doing here? Because I keep getting lost. Feel stupid is what I feel, because I'm like, wait a second. When you're talking PMIA, you know, things like that I should know, I don't know. So where do I go?
Okay, so first off, thank you for saying that, because I think you're voicing what a lot of people think and they're too afraid to say.
No, you know me, I'm not afraid.
That they feel stupid or they're afraid of feeling stupid. What's really, I want to just highlight that the fact that she said that, guys, because when we're in here and there's 40 people, 37 people, whatever it is, and I don't see a lot of activity in the chat or there's not a hands up, I know that you guys feel that way. And so we do our best to create a space for you guys to feel comfortable in asking these questions. The number one way that you guys are going to close more deals and accelerate is by taking action, and by taking action in these meetings and asking questions. So Cindy, thank you for bringing that up. Now, specifically, what terms are you struggling with? Because Gary is an encyclopedia.
Okay, well, Gary, do you have a 3-hour video and you that basically
I have
tells
way more than 3 hours of video going. Are you kidding?
no, because honestly, you guys, listen, when I first got into this, I stupidly paid for a coaching program. So now I owe for that for flippers, right? So now I owe that. So I have all these calculators for flippers, and now then it was wholesalers, and now it's sub 2. And I need to understand, like you were talking about, which was really important, when it's a flipper, when it's vacant or low equity, then, you know, you're talking about certain terms that I should know quickly. So when I'm talking to someone, I understand where I need to go and pivot. I know it's going to take time, but is there some place somewhere Pace or Gary like did something that I can just like listen to it? Because I'm always in the car, believe it or not. I know I'm sitting on my
Just
house.
real estate terms?
Just like really, yeah, the terms for just basic stuff, PITI, whatever he was just talking about, which I think he's already told us once, principal, interest, something and something.
Taxes and insurance.
Yeah. Principal, interest, taxes, insurance, PITI. So I should have known that. Do you see what I'm
AKA
saying?
mortgage.
Look, there are books on the shelves of real estate terms. If there weren't, I'd probably put one together and sell it.
How about an audio? If I'm in the car all day, it's hard for me to read.
All right, go to Amazon and search for book of real estate terminology and see if there's one that's available as an audio book. I can't.
Be investors and not real estate, or is it just the same thing? I mean,
Cindy, I didn't know
think
any of this a year ago. And it came from, number one, talking to people like Gary. And every time I didn't know something, I would just Google it. So it's going to take a little bit of time, but you just got to, do the reps. You'll get it. I mean, I think you're taking action, you're generating leads. So just keep at it.
It's a pity if you don't know what PITI means.
I see what you did there, Gary.
Okay.
All right, but principal, interest, taxes, insurance. You know what we need for Cindy are like little ditties,
Acronyms.
little songs to add life to the terms.
Okay.
Jerry Norton has a video for all that sounds like something Jerry would do.
Yeah.
Yeah, right. Do a video of just term after term. I would go out of my mind.
Oh,
It's the foo.
actually, like Jason Lee's comment better. He
Pity
said,
the foo.
That's
Pity
good.
the foo. Are we talking Tyson? Mike Tyson? No, that was
That's Mr. T.
Mr. T. Yeah, Mr. T.
I pity the fool.
Pity
Love
the
it.
fool.
All right. Cindy, thanks for hanging out with us. I'll give you more on that portfolio sale as soon as I start negotiations.
Okay, next up, Dylan. Go ahead and unmute.
Hello.
Hey, Dylan.
what's up, man?
how's it going? This
Nothing
isn't
much.
your
Hope you guys
first
are
time,
doing
right?
good.
We've seen you once or twice before, or?
Yeah, I just haven't asked the question yet.
Okay.
Yeah, but
You're just one of those quiet types in the background, soaking it all in,
yeah, definitely. I'm trying to, and I've been watching like the videos of the Zooms that you guys put up, like, the past couple of days to try to get myself up to speed. Um, I had a question. I seen that you guys or listened to you guys talk about it, about how like there are like unpermitted like additions to the house, and they'll even put it in the description of the listing. Um, is there any way that you would even, is that even like worth even approaching to try to like down the price on this like for the seller and the agent, or like is that just or how would I approach that if I wanted to, I guess?
It depends, right? That's one of those, it depends. If there's enough money in it, and I have a relationship with the building department, and I've got the wherewithal to deal with it, I might, you know. I just turned one down because 70% of the house wasn't permitted, and it looked to me like there might be foundation issues, and I did not want to be in a 12-month, 18-month project,
Okay.
right?
Yeah. I had one under contract recently where it was an addition and it was like an easement where like the property was literally butting up against the property line. And so they had to take it all down and they were valuing the property off of that square footage. Well, you can't necessarily do that. You can, but it doesn't make any logical sense, right? So in terms of the underwriting, it wasn't a deal. And so we voiced that to them and went back and forth. And we ended up canceling that contract. Now, what we are doing now in our business, because we have such strong relationships with our buyers, I know Gary will be proud. We basically we'll reach out to our buyers and we'll say, hey, we've got this situation. We're unfamiliar with the way that this permitting process works in this city or whatever. Where would you need to be? What does that look like? And we'll just ask them to give us full transparency as to what the process is, how much money they would need, what their MAO is, all of that, so that we have better information moving forward in those types of situations in that specific market. So it's going to be an obstacle and it's going to be a case by case basis.
Yeah, gotcha.
One thing that we have, another thing that I'll give you that's useful, that's now protocol in our team, is that if we have an addition, we will measure the house, because what we have found is that the square footage is usually 9 times out of 10 incorrect. So not only is it an unpermitted addition, but what they're telling us is the overall square footage is also incorrect. So now it's protocol, because we've actually lost the deal based off of that. They were cool with it not being permitted. They were going to go through the process, but then they remeasured it again, the whole entire house. And it wasn't just the addition that was throwing off the numbers, it was the actual full measurement. And so that threw all the numbers off, and then we had to cancel. So now,
Okay.
like I said, if there's an addition, it's just protocol for us to measure the entire house.
Got it. Then I was also gonna ask, like, if creatively, is negative equity, like if it's not that much negative equity on a home, even worth exploring, or like how does that work?
If it's got a great mortgage,
Huh?
if it's got a great a mortgage with a really good rate, yes.
Okay.
Yes, if it's got a negative equity, can actually mean low to no entry fee. We'll take it off your hands, Mr. and Mrs. Seller. We'll take this burden away, although, sometimes it means you're just going to pay a little more. But that's okay, because you'll make it back eventually. And really good examples of this right now are people have bought on FHA or VA with low money down, and the market area that they bought in went soft. So the house was they were a little underwater, but not totally sunk underwater, but 10, 20,000. Sure, I'll take it over. I'll give you some moving money, and I'm willing to go out of pocket on this because you got a great interest rate. The house is great. I'll be able to cash flow it, and it's going to come back in value. As Pace always says, equity comes and goes, right, with the market, but cash will always flow.
That's right.
When
other
the equity goes down because the rents usually are going up. So think about that.
And so the other two things that you want to be aware of are the loans that will create negative equity that you do not want to have anything to do with. One is a reverse mortgage. You can't assume that. It has to be satisfied. The other one that we look the other way is negative amortization. We don't do those loans because obviously over time it's just chipping away at the equity, and it's not something that you'd want to assume. Cool.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, you'll find loans in the marketplace from the right before the crash. They're negative amortization loans. Dodd-Frank has something to say about that now, but they're still out there. I still run into them every now and then. And people can pay more on those, so they're not going negative, but they allow for negative amortization to lower people's payments. And the thought was, well, the property would appreciate and stay pace with it, and not such a good thing.
Mm,
But if you get one but the thing is, they're usually crappy interest rates. They're usually and they're usually variable rates. So they're very rarely would you want to touch one of those, as Patrick says.
I
Well,
think
thank you, Dylan.
we can
Thank you,
name
guys.
shark loans, I think. Yeah.
What? Shark loans?
Yeah. I feel like we could name those shark loans. We'll just start calling them shark loans. Thanks for hanging out, Dylan.
Thank you.
I guess who's here? The dark, shadowy character, Luxley. Luxley, man, you got to put some light on your face,
With how many deals this guy's closing, you think he'd have like a ring light or something.
right? Something.
Where's the couch?
Even one of those stupid little desk lamps that he could shine in his face.
Luxley, what's up, dude?
Are you mute? You're muted, man. Unmute. Do I have to ask you? Unmute, Mr. Luxley. Oh, here.
I feel like he's about to give testimony.
I can't even click ask to unmute.
I did.
Oh,
What
yeah.
happened?
There you go. That worked.
Oh, now we can't see you, but we can hear you.
How's it going? bro?
Okay, great. Gary didn't like my couch, so I had to relocate into the
I miss
dark
your
place.
couch, Luxley. I miss your couch. I liked it.
No, your couch, you just need to get some light on your face.
I have to turn that on. It's kind of dark here. The storm just went by us, so it's kind of overcast still.
Well, you know what?
But-
If the camera was in front of the window and you were facing the window, it'd be fine. But
Yeah.
what's happening is the camera's picking up all the light from the window, and
Yeah, yeah.
you can see yourself. You're just a dark shadow. The shadow knows, though, right? Now nobody's going to get that reference because you're not old enough. Oh, okay. So thank you, Cindy. You got it. The shadow knows. Okay. Go,
Before I
Mr.
ask my
Shadow.
question, I'd like to make a comment on what Dylan just spoke about. I did a lease option for a friend of mine, and the person who is living there removed a wall unit from the building. And the code inspector saw that was missing and cited the building. It ended up costing him $2,500 to resolve it with the city.
The wall unit, what is that? What kind of,
It's a unit, a wall is air conditioned unit.
oh, an AC unit, and they
Yeah.
just left a hole in the code inspector?
No, he closed the hole, but it was missing, and you can't, in St. Petersburg, Florida, you can't do that without a permit.
Well, is it one of those heat pumps in an apartment building?
No, it's not a heat pump.
It's just a window shaker unit?
You put
Yeah.
a hole in the wall and you put it in. You take it out. And he took it out because he has central unit.
And he didn't brick it back up or match the, I mean,
He matched it, painted it, but it was missing. The inspector goes around every day and look to see what's there and what's not.
They're looking for trouble there in St.
Yeah.
Petersburg, huh?
So, yeah, they're difficult to deal with sometimes.
Well, yeah, you get caught not pulling a permit to make a change, they're gonna ding you.
Yes,
But that sounds like super trivial.
petty. I thought it
Super
was.
trivial.
Yeah.
Like that was a major structural thing, right? I'd be kind of miffed at that personally.
My question now, back to the example used of the $300,000 building. Gary, I think it was 240 was the loan balance. It was 300,000 and you take 10% off, which leaves 270. And then you had 240, I think it was the loan balance, and the equity amount was 30,000.
Are we talking about this?
Yes.
Okay. So what's your question?
My question is, when you're looking for your cash flow, are you calculating it off of the 240 or the 300? Well, the 300 is asking.
Well, you
From the loan balance or the loan to value? The value of the property.
well,
cash-
first of all, you're gonna be 30,000 cash in the deal. So it depends on what you're calculating. Are you calculating cash on cash? Are you calculating NOI? What are you trying to calculate?
Cash flow.
Well, so cash flow as net operating income?
Net, yeah, yes, not NOI.
So what are the components of that, Luxley? The amount you're paying on the loan and the and that's it here, right? But
Well, those numbers aren't here. These numbers are here
Right.
to discuss how to negotiate subject to when we're going direct to seller and or agent. But when you're underwriting that process, it's going to look a lot different.
so yeah, you got to do the underwriting, but the costs, if it were this house, it would be the cost of the PITI, right? And if taxes get recalculated, then you have to underwrite that. But essentially, it's amount of the rent, your PITI less other costs. That's your cash flow. So why you
So
zooming in a little
the
too far?
PITI is on the 240 that was there.
Well, so
And
here's
any
how
other
this is
cost?
how you do cash flow. Do you see where it says does it cash flow? You enter your monthly rents. Then you have your principal and interest. And in this case, there's the original loan plus an additional new loan, interest only. So, and then there's no taxes and insurance here. Well, do you want to just make up a number? Okay, so 350, so you got 5 now. You got 15% allowance for maintenance, CapEx, vacancy, that stuff, and there's nothing, if there's nothing else, then you're negative 272. Now,
Yes, sir.
you might be okay with that if you're getting a big tax deduction.
Okay,
This is more realistic.
Okay, so what did you change? You just changed the amount of the,
350 at 3% for 30 years a couple of years ago.
so
So-
your PI is
Fine.
principal and interest is 1475, taxes and insurance, 350, 150, 375. That, I mean, for some people, 150 a month mailbox money, knowing you're banking 375 a month for expenses is good enough. And
Okay.
tax deduction, right? Some people will want like 200 or 300 a month on a property like this. But, everybody's tolerance is different.
Right.
yeah, okay, got you. And Gary, I don't know if you use any of these methods. I was speaking with an agent today and she said, go to the Section 8 website to help determine what rents are in a particular area.
So Section 8 pays a little better than market. It's
Yes.
subsidized, you know you're gonna get the money. Occasionally you get a horrible tenant, but that can happen anyway.
Okay,
But yeah, I mean, if you're in that kind of a neighborhood, then Section 8, I have a client that all she does is she targets Section 8. She's that's her specialty.
in a previous life, that's what I did, Section 8.
Yeah, there's nothing wrong with serving that market. That's a niche. You know, there are lots of different rental niches. I have a friend who targets traveling nurses. I have another friend who's into this new pad split thing. And yet another friend who also is into co-living, but targets the high-end market, not the low-end market, which is pad split. There's also a one called coliving.com and others out there that are catering to the remote worker set, the younger people that like to travel. They don't want to make a commit. They want to, live someplace wonderful and exciting and move every 2 or 3 months. They're constantly traveling. And part of the appeal there is to meet all these interesting people that are also doing the same thing. So that type of co-living encourages communal space, whereas pad split is catering to a part of the market where they try to limit the communal space so there's fewer conflicts or opportunities for conflicts. So there's all kinds of little market segments and niches that you can target. Now, Grant Cardone says there's riches in the niches is bullshit, but it's always worked for me. I think you find a way to specialize and get better at your specialty, you'll make more and more money ultimately.
Okay.
That's my belief. But I'm not a multi-billionaire like Grant Cardone, so.
Okay,
Great.
gentlemen,
Good luck, Lee. Thank you,
you.
sir. We appreciate your participation always.
Mhm.
Tarek is up next.
Hey, what's up, guys?
Hey.
I got two quick ones. I saw something that popped up on market. It's like 4 days old, so it's pretty hot. But it's like burnt down. It's gonna be like this complete scrape and rebuild. For my repair costs, I'm carrying like 125 square foot. I'm in SoCal. What would you guys say that cost should be?
It's burnt, fire
It's
damage.
fire damage. It's still existing up to like 1 story. So you're gonna have to demo the remaining, scrape it, and then rebuild on top of it.
Where is it?
It's located in Whittier, and it's a pretty epic location with the top of a mountain with a view on it. So I ran the comps and everything. It's kind of hard to comp, but I'm just trying to make sure that my repair costs kind of equal out to see if it's a deal or not.
Is it practically a new build or is it?
Yeah, it's gonna have to be a complete new build. I think at this point you're done with remaining.
It's a tear down and rebuild. Then
Yeah.
that's not repair. Then you want to be budgeting something more like double that.
Okay. What would you guys say should be
Well, it depends on, what is the end product going to be? Is it going to be a McMansion on a hill or is it?
No, it'll be the end product. What I'm running it to be would be a 4. Add it here real quick. Yeah, so it would basically be like a just rebuild of what was existing. It was a 4.3 at 3,200 square feet.
Well, the thing is what Gary's getting at, and he's, cracking jokes, but he's also serious. If it's a tear down, you can basically within building parameters build whatever you want.
Understood. I was just trying to see the closest comp that was selling to say, hey, if I was to rebuild it to get it retail ready, to use some level of barometer.
Well, if it's a tear down, and so you got the cost of tearing it down and carting off the trash, then if you're going to change the footprint of the building you're going to build, then you've got to remove the old foundation as well. You got new site work. you have to go through a permitting process. So you have an extensive, expensive journey.
So here's what,
Understood.
Mhm.
Tariq, what here, we've been doing this now successfully, and now that we're at the level that we're at, we've been talking to a lot more developers, and those that will just do from site work up and from ground up. And so what we've come to realize is it depends on the developer on the build. And so unfortunately there's no, like, I can't just give you a formula, right? Because let me give you an example. My girlfriend's uncle is actually a developer, a high-level developer. He won't touch anything that's lower than 20,000 square feet. And he wants his construction cost should be 20% of the ARV, and it's $500 a square foot where he's building. So that's how he calculates his deals. Okay, now I got another developer in the same area who will tell me that they'll take a smaller lot, but they want to come in at 30% ARV if they need to go ground up, but there's site work on there, right? And if there's no site work, then that changes things. It changes, entitlements. Where are you getting these entitlements? How long is it going to take? That factors in everything. So if you're new, there you have one of two options here, in my opinion. You move on, right? Or you find a developer and you ask them, how are you calculating your numbers? And what would I need to come in as an offer on this property? Now, you don't have any leverage in the conversation because you don't have it under contract, but you could tell them that I'm actively working in this area and I come across a lot of these on and off market. And I wanted to understand how you underwrite these so that I know what kind of deals you're looking for and what to bring you.
Got it. And then use that as a learning curve just to understand, or as knowledge to understand what it could be in case I come across another one.
So this is what you're looking at as a first deal, Tarek?
No, I've done a couple I've done a couple, I've done 2 fix and flips, or actually fix and holds, but I acquired them different ways. I've acquired them off market. So now this is my whole new world of wholesaling per se. So correct.
All right, well,
Yeah, I
as
mean,
long as you're gonna wholesale it, you have my blessing.
right, yeah.
Don't go from fix and flip to a project like this. Work your way up there a little bit.
I'll tell you this,
Eventually.
out of all of the developers that I've talked to, not one of them has said what another one has said in terms of how they underwrite.
Yeah.
Every single developer I've ever talked to has always had a unique way of underwriting their deals.
Understood. Okay. And then my second part, so I submitted a lead to the JV form. This one was kind of interesting. It's kind of in a high-end neighborhood in SoCal called West Covina, but the hills of West Covina and Walnut. It's been on the market. Talked to the agent. They're firm on their price. So I underwritten it to wholesale it. They did not like the offer, but they are interested in maybe being creative or seller finance specifically. So the lady, she followed up with saying, yeah, like, give me the offer. So they're going to do an open house this Saturday. So I was trying to get ahead of that, but I just want to let you know I submitted that. I underwrote it. It seems to be pretty okay. So just wanted to make sure that maybe you guys take a look at it.
So
What's
there's
your
some amazing view homes in that area.
Sorry, go ahead.
What's your exit strategy?
Yeah, so this is where I use your spreadsheet, and I've been using it fairly confidently in wholesaling. Now, when it came to the seller finance, I was trying to figure that out, and I was like, man, this is hard for me to analyze as a hold. But to me, I would think that it would be a long-term rental would be pretty good. The 6,500 is
So
the
you
average
want
rent.
to
Does it
wholesale the
need,
deal?
does it need work?
It needs actually pretty minimal work. So
Mhm.
talking to the agent, they spent money on a brand new HVAC system. Looking at it, it needs an updated kitchen, updated restrooms.
Is it owner occupied?
No, it's vacant.
Okay. Is there how much equity do they have?
They have. I just submitted it. Let me
Just give me a ballpark. I don't need the real number.
I think it was like it was in 2017, so it was probably like 75% equity.
Okay, so they've got considerable equity. And so did you pitch terms at all, or did you just say we're going to be taking over the note, give you some equity, and that's it?
I'm sorry, to clarify, okay, so they took a loan in 2017, so they have not a lot of equity. So,
Well,
you know,
they've got over 10%, I'll tell you that. So
okay,
this would have to be a hybrid.
okay, and to answer your question, yeah, they were really just interested in seller finance because they bought a new property, they're already in that property, and they kind of wanted, you know, I kind of said, well, what would you look for a down payment? Normally we try to do 10%. They're like, well, we want something more this is the agent, of course, want something more sizable. So I was trying to write it, the calculator. I'm like, well, this is a little bit complex, so I'll submit it. See, you guys.
Without even looking at it, if they want a sizable down payment, it's probably not going to be for me, but there probably
Okay.
are other buyers out there that might take it. The cash on cash return will not be there. It just won't be there. And if they're willing to do a lower down payment and carry the rest, then yeah, I'll buy it all day long. What's the price point?
I comped it at
What is their
and
ask?
yeah, their ask is 1.8.
It's not a rental, dude. It's not gonna
Okay.
catch. It's just too high of a price point.
Okay, and
But I
even
mean,
even
if you
even
had
if
if you had the risk tolerance to hold it and wholesale it later at their price, then that might be a strategy for you. But we don't know when interest rates are going down.
okay, all right,
That's
yeah,
what I would do. If you are willing to lose money or break even on rent, which you're probably, by the way, you're probably going to lose money on this, and you have the risk tolerance to hold it while the market heats up again, then you could wholesale it.
okay, and just to understand, the deals you're looking for specifically when getting submission, those are kind of like wholesales, rarely, or kind of unless it really makes sense. Those are kind of buy and holds for you essentially.
If it's creative, I want it to cash flow or break even in the first year. And I'll buy it, no problem, as long as it fits that 10% mark. If it doesn't hit the criteria, I can help you find a buyer for it.
Okay.
Yep.
Appreciate it, guys. Thank you.
All right,
100%.
thanks, guys. Thanks, Tarek. Who's next? Jakima. Where have I heard that name before?
What's up, girl?
There she is. Unmute.
You're
There
on
you
mute.
go.
Can you hear me?
Yep, I got
Yeah.
you.
How are you guys?
Good. How are
Great.
you?
How are you?
Good. So my question, well, when Luxley spoke, you guys pretty much answered. So I guess I'm just gonna have to use the spreadsheet to calculate the cash flow. But my question, like, I'm looking at this property in Chesapeake, Virginia, and it's an REO. And we walked the property. It needs work. We already like did the numbers on what we could do at a fix and flip. But we're looking more at it as like a buy and hold. So my question is really like the agent, first off, it's not priced right for either a fix and flip or a fix and hold. But I know that she had told us that she had gotten an offer for like $199 and they rejected it. So
Well, okay. So
when we
first
did
of
our
all,
numbers,
yeah.
yeah, go ahead.
Yeah,
Well, I
let
was,
him jump in because you said
Yeah.
a hot
All
acronym
right,
there. Go
so,
ahead,
all right, for everybody who doesn't know, REO stands for real estate owned. That's what it's called when a bank takes a property by foreclosure. I don't know why it's an REO, but it's an REO. So that's what you're dealing with. Banks are the least motivated sellers on the planet. Bar none. They are cold, heartless people. If we can even if they qualify as human, but they are, when it comes to asset manager, they don't care. Their job is to squeeze as much money out of it. They got all the time in the world. They're not worried about it, anything, it costing them money. It is really hard to get a deal on an REO.
Yeah.
As soon as I see something's an REO, I'm like, okay, I got better things to do.
I go next immediately.
Next, right? I got better
Okay.
things to do with my time. Although, it's good practice to go walk them, calculate, learn how to calculate repairs, stuff like that.
Yeah.
I actually tried to buy one and it was just so ridiculous that I went out and bought something else. And a month after I bought the something else, I got a call. They're willing to accept your offer now. Like, well, isn't that lovely? I
Pick
moved
rocks,
on. Thank
Ario.
you. Yeah,
Yeah.
literally.
Yeah. So Jakima, unfortunately, it's just not an opportunity, cash or creative wise.
Okay,
We don't even
okay,
we don't even look at those. Like it's one of our disqualifiers.
okay,
Yep.
okay,
And
okay.
the realtors that take those listings, that's like a subspecialty. They're like, they know it. They just do it,
And they're a special type of person, I'll tell
oh,
you what.
they're, they're not sympathetic at all because you can't be. If you're going to take listings like that are overpriced, the houses are crap, you know, it takes a special kind of person, like Patrick says.
Yeah. No offense to REO agents,
Yeah.
but offense to REO agents. Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Yeah, because I was gonna call the agent back tomorrow and just let her know, like, listen, at that price, it's not
Yep.
really a deal. Not in that way, but I guess we will just move on from that. But my other question is like, I'm finding a lot of properties because I go after distressed, especially fix and flips, and they will advertise like, well, right now I'm kind of going after properties that can't get conventional financing. So it has to be like a cash or an investor that comes in and get those type of properties.
Love
But
those.
what I'm finding is those properties are still like overpriced. And when I'm trying to like, I don't know, maybe I'm not explaining it right to the agent. I don't know where the numbers need to be in order for it to actually be a deal. I'm kind of getting stuck there.
Well,
Okay.
look, a lot of, if they're on market, a lot of agents want too much for fixers. They just do. And,
Mhm.
well, best you can do is make an offer. And sometimes the best way to win on those is be the last one standing. When everybody else is giving up, just remind I'll give you a great story. One of the last flips I did, I offered the seller 275 for this condo, 1 bedroom, and she wouldn't take it. 6 months later, when I was the only one still interested in it, she sold it to me for 250.
Come crawling back.
She turned down my 275 and eventually sold it to me for 250. So just being the last person there. Another one I got in a similar way. I originally offered this guy like 270, I think, and I kept the guy was just asking too much money. There's no way I could make a profit flipping it with what he was asking. And I kept checking with the agent, months went by. And right before the end of the year, the guy finally caved, the seller caved and said, okay, if you can close by the end of the year, I said, well, if it helps, I'll add $1,500, which was nowhere near what he was getting. And I did. I upped my offer of $1,500, and the guy said, as long as you close by the end of the year, I'll take it. So when you get those and they're sitting on the market, just keep, hey, I'm here, just letting you know I'm still interested. If you're still
Okay.
ready to do, get realistic, let me know.
But
Okay.
yeah, and so Gary's correct, and obviously he's speaking from experience. And so for us, we do follow up, but like I would say 95% of our deals are like within the first 14 days of them either being on market or us being in contact with that agent about off-market property. So you have to become good at negotiating, and in order for you to do that, you have to understand what negotiation is, and it's finding the higher intention of both parties and coming to a resolution. In real estate, with negotiation, that is them selling the property and you getting it at the price that you need. So you have to create context. And so in that conversation, it's, hey, John, I'm calling about 123 Main Street. You go through the 4 pillars and you go, hey, so John, I'm an investor, I'm looking to purchase this property. I'll tell you this, we're looking to make anywhere from 7 to 10% net. Is that something that your seller is open to? Are they open to working with an investor? And they say, yes. That's the first yes you need to get. The next thing that you got to do is you got to agree on price, the ARV, the retail value of the home. Okay, so this is listed for 300, whatever. The ARV is 350. And if they don't agree with you, by the way, on the retail value, then you tell them, send me some comps. And if they send you comps that don't meet the appraisal standards, you bring that to their attention. Well, John, unfortunately, these aren't comps that we can follow because in our company, we follow the appraisal standards and these comps don't fit that criteria. So based off the appraisal standards, the actual retail value is X. Do you agree with me, John? Get another yes. See, what I'm doing is I'm creating a firm, solid ground that we can start negotiating from. Because if we don't agree on the actual retail value, and we don't agree that you want to work with an investment or somebody investing, then you're wasting time, right? So I've got to say yes to those two things. Now this is where underwriting meets negotiations. So you say, okay, great, John. So we both agree on the ARV. You both agree that your seller's willing to let me make 10% on this. So we have closing costs of 83% times the retail value. That puts me at this. We're going to spend 150 on reno. That's why I'm at this number. Does that make sense, John?
Okay,
And then
well,
when you break it down like that, I've had agents tell me, I'm going to stop answering my phone. I want to work with you.
well, look, but with sellers, I don't care how great the relationship is, their irrationality sometimes has to it has to transform to desperation.
Yeah.
So, all I'm saying is a very basic thing in sales is follow up, 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 and ad infinitum. And when it's time to stop is when they threaten to call the cops on you for harassing them.
Yeah.
That's what follow up means in sales. So, what in the units I was talking about, I wanted those units, so I didn't give up on them. I kept checking in because I knew that they weren't going to sell at the price that the sellers were asking, and that I'd probably be the last one in line when they finally caved. So if you find something really tasty and you love it, then what does it take every month to check in with the agent, check in with the seller, whoever you're dealing with, and maybe you'll get the deal. Because
Okay.
everyone else gave up. And you're the one, I'm still here, ready to buy your place. Okay?
Does that help?
Okay.
Shakima?
Yes. Yes.
So just practice negotiating those numbers. You know what I mean? Practice saying it out loud. Like this is with the ARV, this is what we're going to net if we sell at that price. Now we're subtracting the renovation cost. That's why I'm coming in at this number, because then they'll have a better chance of actually conveying that to the seller. Or if you're working direct to seller, you can explain to them, that's where your numbers are coming from. This isn't a lowball offer. We have an underwriting process that we follow, and this is why we've come up with this number.
Which is the
Okay.
logical approach, but sometimes you just have to be, I'm here.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Thank you, Jakima.
Thank you.
Remove the spotlight. Patrick, I'm going to probably end up having turning the host controls over to you.
Well, we're at 4:30, so
yeah, I can't stay much. Can we make this, Monica? I'm sorry, but I think we got to make this the last call unless you want to hang in there.
Make me host, and I'll
Okay.
answer these last two questions.
Okay, then I will do that.
Clearly, I love the baby elephants more than
Kalila, did I say that right? Is it
You
Kalila?
did. I just had a quick question. Where do you find the spreadsheet for the what I saw earlier in the call about the
The
calculating
analyzer
the cash
spreadsheet,
flow?
the
Yes.
analyzer spreadsheet, I will paste that link in the chat. Give me a second here.
Okay, that's all I needed to know.
Okay, give me 1 second. This took me several hundred hours to build this. So if you can't use it right away, don't be too hard on yourself because it's fairly complex. But once you get it, it's just such a lovely tool.
Right. Because the cells that are in blue, those are the cells that you input your numbers in.
Actually, the blue cells have formulas. The white cells are
Okay.
metadata. Okay, here's
Okay.
the link. In order to use it, any of you who are copying this, file, make a copy. Do not request access. You are not getting edit access to the original. Okay, I'll karate chop you if you ask for access. File, make a copy. All right, Khalila,
No
thank
problem.
She looks
Okay,
fit, Gary.
now we got Monica. Monica,
Monica, what's up?
Monica. Hey, Monica.
I remember you. You're on mute, sweetie. Here, I'll ask you to unmute.
I did.
Please don't crash. Be safe, guys, when you're on these Zooms.
Yeah, you got to unmute, Monica.
Still muted.
I can't unmute you for you.
Can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Sorry about that. I had two questions. One of them was, when I drive around, I see like a vacant property. I've been looking at this property for quite a while. And when I looked it up on the Preview, because that's the software I've been using, I know I've seen the Astro Blaster and also the other one that Patrick mentioned the last time I went on the Zoom, PropStream or PropStream, something like that.
Yeah.
First of all, like, what's the difference between all of them? And like, I was trying to look on Preview for the property. I found the address, but it wasn't the right house. It was right on that street, but it wasn't. It's a corner house, and it has a big red. It says vacant, and then it says sheriff underneath it. So I don't know what that really means. I did we're in Franklin County, so I did look into the auditor's website and got all the information, the owner and everything like that. But I'm trying to get, I guess, the phone number of the owner in order to contact them, or how do I go about it?
All right. Well, it says something on the sheriff. It's got a sign that says sheriff.
Yeah, but it says like the Department of Development would be, I guess.
All right. So go to the city and find out what's going on. They may have condemned it.
Okay.
Doesn't mean that it can't be uncondemned.
Okay.
But a condemnation of a property is a form of taking of a property. It's almost like a foreclosure. When a city condemns a property, it means we're taking this because the property's been neglected, the property owner's not taking care of it, and in which case there's a process that goes through a sale process. The city may even tear down the house if it's dangerous. So go to the city, since you're out driving, stop in City Hall, go to the the building department and ask what's going on.
Is it worth following through in this type of process, or is it something that's going to take longer than expected?
Nobody can say that until you get all the facts, Monica.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
you
I mean,
can look at it one of two ways. You can look at it like it's going to be a lot of work, or you can look at it like you probably don't have any other competition.
Yeah, because I mean, when they purchase a property, they still owe $152,000, and the properties around that area. When I pulled up, I kind of did my own comp. I used to do this like years ago, but I was been just like literally. I was listening to your YouTube videos all the way to like 3 o'clock in the morning last night, because I'm trying to do this in between working 2 jobs, and then I'm also self-employed. So I was it had the value somewhere between 287. So that's why I saw the potential of being able to wholesale it to somebody, and they still would have enough money, I believe, to fix it up. According to what I'm seeing outside, I peeked a little bit in the windows. It doesn't seem like it has a lot of problems.
You're probably right. But to answer your initial question, what programs were we talking about? What do I need? So on and so forth. That could save you some time just based off of the fact that it might be able to tell you if it's an REO or not.
Hey, I'm jumping off. Okay.
Okay, Gary. Thank you.
All right. Take care, everyone. Thank you.
So